Hey, Warpugs. Nick the Extreme asks a question, and that question is, what happened to each planet within the solar system? Well, there's a lot of answers to that. Pluto, well, not a planet, it's a moon, became a very heavily defensive outpost. Saturn, pretty much the same thing. Mars is Mars. Venus, I never really have heard anything about Venus or Mercury, but luckily, Majorkill is here to fill in the gaps. Guys, the Terran system, Sol system, is one of the most heavily fortified places in the entire universe. You can't just drive in there. Let's learn about what happened to each planet. Majorkill, his links are going to be in the description down below. Guys, go check that out. And hit the like video on this. Hit the like button. I'm an idiot. Guys, you know what head trauma. Let's go.
40K is wildly different from our own modern era. So different, in fact, it's easy to forget that it technically takes place in our timeline. Terra is Earth, Mars is Mars, and the Mona Lisa is still floating around in some stasis preservation field.
Yes.
So it begs the question, what has happened to all the planets within our solar system over the past 40,000 years? Which ones have been terraformed? Which ones have been destroyed? It's an interesting, not often considered bit of lore that is worth talking about.
Yes.
Before we get started, I quickly want to share some exciting news. After many trials, tribulation, and anal pain, we have finally integrated VAT into the Major Minis website. This means no more bullshit random customs fees or European post offices holding packages hostage. Now you just pay VAT at checkout and bam, package goes straight to your door. This is something I've been working on for ages but was too retarded to sort it out. But now that's ready, so you cheeky Europeans can now get Ra, the Xenonids, the Shark Daddy, the King Orc, and dozens of other Major Minis without fuss. We are hard at work putting together a bunch of new models that will come out this month, but if you were a European waiting for VAT to get sorted, then the time has come. Link in description. Today we'll go over what happened to each of the planets within the Sol system, as well as what function they currently serve. Now let's get into it.
Let's go.
Obviously, we will start with Earth, or Terra as it's called in 40K, as I am a bit biased. The birthplace of mankind remains its capital and the home of most of the Imperium's institutions. The assassin temples, custodian laboratories and armories, and the administratum are all stationed on Terra. It's not just sentimental either. Although Terra has a lot of infrastructure and a fuck-off huge population, 99% of its value comes from the fact that it is home to the Emperor and the Astronomicon.
Yes.
The Emperor being more or less the Astronomicon's skeletal computer slash battery, and the Astronomicon being the lighthouse that allows Imperial ships to travel through the warp. Without the Astronomicon, the galaxy would be cut off and plunged into darkness, which is why living on Imperium Nihilus right now sucks more dick than a college girl with failing grades. Since Terra is seen with holy reverence by the rest of the Imperium, its population is in the quadrillions, as the entire world is basically just one big fuck-off city slash slum. This makes it a great recruiting ground for the Imperium, as if only 0.1% of the population are highly talented individuals, that is still trillions of people that can be brought into the Administratum, Commissariat, or even Inquisition. It also allows for a lot of regiments to be pulled from the world. Now, as a side effect for having that obscenely ungodly amount of people, the entire world's natural ecosystems have been annihilated, resulting in a lot of pollution, diseases.
Terra was in the process of being terraformed back when the Emperor was wrapping up the Great Crusade. He was actually beginning to terraform the planet to where it would have oceans again, which would have been great, but sucks to suck.
Overheating and scarce resources. Pretty much all water and food is imported from off-world, with only slight delays or mess-ups causing millions to starve or die of dehydration. Terra has gone through multiple apocalypses that have seen trillions dead. In recent times, the Cornite invasion of Terra caused most of the world to go mad and engage in a hectic free-for-all, a lot like what happened in Kingsman's Secret Service. The siege of Terra also saw trillions caught in the crossfire and get mowed down like they were nothing. Before that, Terra had been racked with nuclear fire from dipshit retards blowing up everything, so overall, Terra is a massive shithole that only exists because of the Emperor and the Astronomicon. Our red neighbor Mars had an interesting evolution over the last little while, first getting colonized by Elon Musk, then terraformed into a lush Earth-like world, before then nuking themselves back into the form of the red planet. However, it wasn't quite full circle like that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The first man to step on Mars was the Emperor himself. See, in the medieval ages, a massive shard of the Void Dragon.
This happened this happened.
Dragon was on Earth causing a ruckus, so the Emperor rode out clad in golden armor and fucking dark souled the shit out of the Void Dragon, knocking it out. However, the Emperor didn't want to kill it, as that would kind of fuck with the laws of physics a bit, so he got a bright idea. By dragging the Void Dragon by its balls to Mars, most likely via hectic psychic teleportation, and locking it under the surface of the Noctis Labyrinthus, its dreams would saturate the planet, rapidly expanding the intelligence of anyone who lived on the world. So when old mate Elon finally got off Twitter and went to...
The problem is, the name of the dragon, the name of the Satan that this thing is part of, is quite literally translated as the death of knowledge.
Mars, the new Martians exploded in IQ and intelligence, rapidly ascending humanity up the technological ladder. The Mechanicus isn't smart and impressive because they put computers in their brains, they've just been getting literally saturated in the wet dreams of a shard of a god of science. Mars was terraformed, and alongside Terra was the capital of humanity as it spread throughout the stars. Mars would enjoy its prosperity until the Age of Strife, where warp storms cut mankind off from itself, as well as that cheeky AI robotic uprising. On top of that, psychers began to appear and then accidentally shut out demons, causing most human worlds to regress. However, Mars was strong, its people were intelligent and resourceful, so despite the planet's terraformed biosphere getting completely fucked by all the war against the AI and the warp predators, they were able to eventually win and unite their world, rebuilding and returning to their powerhouse status. This was the Emperor's plan all along. He knew humanity would one day fall to the Age of Strife, and that Mars would be the key to creating his Imperium. Hence, the Emperor was able to gaslight Mars into thinking he was their god, their omnisire, and as such they pledged allegiance to him and provided him with their vast manufacturing capabilities. Although Mars would go through a civil war during the Horus Heresy, it was retaken by the Loyalists and remains the Imperium's key factory to this day. It also still sports a reasonably livable biosphere, with a breathable atmosphere and very scarce flora and fauna. Fuck it, let's do Jupiter now. You wouldn't think that a gas giant could be used very well by the Imperium, but you also wouldn't think that a midget could get shot out of a cannon and survive, but here we are. Jupiter has actually become the Imperium shipyard, with thousands of colonies located on the asteroids and man-made orbital platforms surrounding it. The planet itself ejects a huge amount of radiation, which is then converted into an endless supply of energy for the manufacturing of the thousands and thousands of spaceships the Imperium needs. But before it was a shipyard, Jupiter was actually home to a vicious alien race, a race that
and this was the first Xenos that the Emperor murdered.
Was genocided by the newly formed Imperium with the help of Mars. Most Jupiter cities and colonies are on one of the numerous moons, with about 90% of the populace being members of the Mechanicus, due to how fucking shit living on those moons would be for an unaugmented human. In saying that though, the orbitable platforms can be quite luxurious, with Saros Station having the finest opera house in the Imperium, aside from the one within the Imperial Palace of course. On to the next gas giant, Saturn. When the Imperium was formed, Saturn was actually under the control of a human empire called the Saturn Ordo, that had a pretty strong military. However, fortunately, they saw the Imperium as a brother empire, so happily joined in with the Emperor. Some resisted and were destroyed, while some other Saturn moons housed hostile Xenos that were also genocided. Unlike Jupiter, which became a very public shipyard, Saturn would be converted into a clandestine military world, with all its moons being used to house secret inquisitorial forces. Malkador wanted there to be a contingency plan in case he and the Emperor fell during the heresy, so he turned the moon of Mimas into an inquisitorial jail. The moon of Enceladus houses the capital of the Ordo Malleus Inquisition, as well as the Sister of Battle Order of the Shattered Glass. Tethys has demons on it, which are used as study and practice for inquisitorial troops and Grey Knights, whilst Titan is the literal homeworld of the Grey Knights. The Inquisition's power is so great that they were able to take Deimos, a moon that used to orbit Mars, and bring it over to Jupiter to use as the Inquisition's private forge world.
And why they would do that when there's so many other damn moons to use, nobody knows.
Finally, Lapetus is the naval dock for the Grey Knight battleships. If you're ever wondering how powerful the Inquisition actually is, just remember that one of its wings controls a gas giant and all its moons in humanity's solar system. Saturn continues to exist in this form in the current setting. Venus is a bit less spicy.
I know nothing about what happened to Venus, Mercury, Neptune I know a little bit about. Uranus, I know nothing about, and shut up, stop smirking.
At the dawn of the Imperium, it was controlled by war witches who used
Really?
litho-golems as soldiers, implying that during the Age of Technology, mankind settled on this world, but during the Age of Strife, the newly emerged Psychers took control of it and became wacky. The
Yay.
Iron Warriors were sent to massacre them and take the world in the Imperium's name. That is about as spicy as its lore gets though, as now it's just a pretty generic industrial world. What about your anus? Kill myself. Uranus is pretty interesting as it's home to the most stable warp route in and out of the Sol system, meaning most large fleets that want to safely enter or leave the system go via Uranus. However, the world itself is pretty uninhabitable, so most life out there is just orbitable space platforms. As you can imagine, it became a key battleground during the Horus Heresy, as the Iron Warriors wanted to seize the warp route and succeeded in this. It was then taken off them at the end of the siege and continues to be the main door in and out of the Sol system. Its moons are used as mining stations or heavily fortified guard posts, as befitting what would usually be Terra's first line of defense. Onto Pluto. This one is a bit controversial because, like, is Pluto even a fucking planet?
Right.
But then, who really cares? Pluto was once again not a key world in the system, however it also had a stable warp route in and out of the Sol system, so it was fortified in a similar way. If Uranus was the front door, Pluto was the side gate. It more so acts as a listening outpost rather than a fortress, giving Terra warning of enemy approach but not really stopping them. It became the site of a huge battle during the Horus Heresy as Alpha Legion engaged Imperial Fist.
Alfarius versus Rogel Dorn.
It was on Pluto that Rogel Dorn killed Alfarius and
Or did he?
Sigismund outplayed and blew up a bunch of Sons of Horus. In the current setting, due to its neglect, a number of Xenos were able to sneak into the world and begun living there, only for the Adeptus Custodes to swoop in and fuck them up. What of Neptune? It was colonized during the Age of Technology, however when the Age of Strife hit, the humans on it were mutated into vicious abominations.
Lovely.
As the Imperium rose, the Blood Angel Legion was sent to purge it, however lost over 12,000 Astartes in doing so, the largest loss of Space Marine life recorded in one conflict at the time. The world was in Imperial hands, but it wasn't very important. During the Horus Heresy, Perturabo sent some basic pirates and trader guardsmen to go fuck it up as an afterthought. It was retaken after the Siege of Terra, but remains pretty unimportant. The only really notable thing happening to it in the current setting was when a bunch of Custodes arrived on it to massacre a Gene Stealer cult.
Lovely.
Mercury is likewise unimportant, being used as a basic mining world that got fucked by the Alpha Legionnaires during the Heresy. In response, the Sisters of Silence arrived on it and genocided all the Psychers there, to prevent any tomfoolery from occurring.
Nice.
It remains a small, unimportant mining world. The moon, or Luna as it's called, isn't a planet, but it's worth mentioning due to how much more interesting it is than half the planets I've already mentioned. Luna was the first non-Terra world colonized by humanity early on in our time. As we figured out how to get to and colonize more exciting worlds, like Mars, Luna became a way station rather than a key colony. When the Age of Strife occurred, the colony of Luna went weird and got really into genetic modification, becoming the
Selenar were a thing.
gene cult of Selenar. The Emperor really wanted the cult's technology for himself, as it was perfect for mass-producing Space Marine gene seed.
And what do you know? He killed them all.
However, the cultists told him to eat a dick before then turning Imperial ambassadors into still living genetic soup. The Emperor sent 3 of his new legions that were able to take Luna within 6 hours. Seeing how dominant the Imperium was, the surviving gene cultists bent the knee and submitted to Imperial rule. Luna was transformed into a highly populated and developed world that was now home to large military bases and expanded genetic laboratories. Luna also became the home base of the Sisters of Silence, the logic being that Luna would be the last line of defense before Terra, so why not fortify the ever-living shit out of it?
Right.
Despite being the battleground for a number of large conflicts, it still serves its purpose to this day. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then
Also, the prison that a couple of really key figures were kept at were on Luna. You had Euphrates Tequila, Garviel Loken was there for some time, Nathaniel Guerra was there for quite some time. A lot of the Traitor Legion loyalists, the ones that didn't betray the Emperor, were kept there. So, yeah, a lot of good things happened there. Guys, check the description below for all of Majorkill's links, and tell me if you could seriously see one thing happening in that entire solar system, what would it be? One of my most irritating things that I see in the lore is how sometimes it doesn't appear like the writers communicate that well between certain books. So like one book is going to have one thing and the very next Like, so one of them... So, there was a ship class called the Furious Abyss. And the thing was supposed to be secret. It was commissioned by Lorgar, and it was built in the Sol system on a moon that was apparently expunged from memory, everything like that. Very next book, everyone knows about it. I don't know. I'm rambling, guys. I'm just rambling. I probably just need to shut the hell up. Anyhow, all the Majorkill's links are in the description down below. Go check him out. Check my links as well. Guys, I'll catch you next time. I'm going to shut up now because I have no idea what I'm talking about. No idea. Just, I'm gone. One thing is weird. One thing, though, I would love to see what's happening in the Oort Cloud. I would love to know what happened with the Oort Cloud in 40k. Or if anybody's ever even bothered to go out there. Since, like, the Dark Age of technology. Because I have never heard anything about it. But then again, I never heard anything about Venus either. I'll catch you guys next time.